In this lesson, we're going to talk about the rotational form of work. When we did the linear motion of work, it was the force over the displacement. Now we're going to be talking about how's the torque over the angular displacement. Same principle, but we're going to talk about how it's very different in uses from our work energy process. All right, so now we're going to look at this rotational form of work. And I used to not teach this, but College Board has added this a bit and been asking it more onto it. So we're going to do this, even though it's a little bit confusing. So I want to ask some clarity. So there is a rotational version of the work energy theorem. So remember, if you revisit back when we derived work and energy back in Unit 3, is we said the work gave you the change in kinetic energy. Okay, and this work was force times the displacement here. And now there was a tricky part, right? We talked about work having the force parallel component of the displacement, but that part was there, right? And so there's an analogous form of the rotational form, torque causing a change in rotational kinetic energy. Okay, now I want you to be very careful on here when you're doing this. We do not want to ever use this for the entire work energy problem solving process. Okay, this type of work is a rotational form of work, but that doesn't apply. There's not a rotational form of gravitational potential energy or spring potential energy. Don't try to use the full process other than rotational work and rotational kinetic energy, because they're not compatible. Because where this comes from is very different from where this comes from, the derivation from it, and it does not apply to do the gravitational potential energy and spring potential energy parts. Okay, so don't think of this as like this is like the same kind of work. It is literally only used to use the work energy theorem only with the object itself and the kinetic energy. Okay, so don't apply the standard work energy process. This is specifically that a torque over an angular displacement, right? Kind of like a force over a linear displacement, can cause a change in the rotational kinetic energy, just like this caused a change in the linear kinetic energy. Okay, so this is a completely separate kind of thing. We don't want to treat it. It's just specifically only when we're doing this. For those of you in AP Physics C, then we use this form, right? We use this for this portion, right? We don't just multiply the two. We use the area under the curve. So this thing is very similar to this. If I have a torque versus an angular displacement curve, then the area is going to be the rotational work. It's going to be this guy right here. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples of how this kind of works. So a string wrapped around the pulley is pulled with a constant downward force F of 50 newtons. So this is 50 newtons here. The radius r and the rotational inertia are 0.1 and blah. Okay, they gave you some r and I. That's fine. If the string does not slip, what is the angular velocity after 1 meter of the string has unwound? Assume the pulley starts from rest. So we're going to say, like, okay, the work done by the string, and you don't even have to do the rotational form for this. You could do the linear form for this, like, because you could see how far it's stretching, because it did that. But we'll do both, so you can kind of see that they're going to give you kind of the same answers. So let's do it the classic way, right? Force displacement is going to give you a change in energy, and your system here, even though the rope doesn't really have any mass, so we're not really worried about the system, is just going to be the pulley here. So if you think this is our standard process, right? If we were to do this, so you would be 50, you're going to pull it down 1 meters. And that's the only force doing work, by the way, because there's gravity here and there's an axial force here, but it's not moving. None of this part is moving, so there's no work being done by that. This is the only thing that's actually has a displacement, because this thing's going to displace downward. All right, and that's going to give a change in energy. Now, what kind of energy? We're talking about kinetic energy, but it's like a spinning kinetic energy, so it's going to be 1/2 I omega F squared minus 1/2 I omega naught squared, right? But it starts from rest. Here, so we know that it starts at 0. So then you can just solve for the angular velocity. This would be the easiest way to solve for this problem, right? Omega F is going to be 2 times 50 times 1 divided by I. The rotational inertia they told you was 2.5 times 10 to the negative 3, and then square root of that. Okay, so then let's see. 2 times 50 divided by 2.5 e negative 3, and then square root of that. I'm going to get 200 radians per second. Okay, so that would be our standard process. And this is what I would have taught you without teaching you the rotational form of work. But you still need to know this. So let's do it this alternative way, right? So the torque over an angular displacement gives you the change in the angular, the exact same thing here. So all of the right side is going to be the same. The left side has to do with the torque. So the torque here from this guy, this is our axis of rotation. And if you draw our R vector, this is our R vector R. So this torque is going to be the force times R times the delta theta. Now, how do we figure out the delta angular displacement is, well, we know the distance that we travel here, right? We know the distance is equal to R times delta theta. And so that's where that's going to kind of come into play. So you know the distance, you know the radius, you know the angular displacement is going to be d over r. I don't know, this is kind of a trivial example a little bit. This will be 1 divided by 0.1. That's going to be 10 radians. So it's going to be 50 times 0.1 times 10 radians is going to give you the 1/2 I omega f squared, right? So the right side is going to be the same. The left side is still going to multiply out to be 50 times 1. Like it's going to be 50 over here. So you get the same approach, right? You get the same thing here. And that's essentially what that torque. Now, this is a very simple problem. So in general, the way you want to think about it, though, is if you have more complicated scenarios with the torque, you may have to do the area under the curve. You may have to do that. But remember, only apply it here. Don't attempt to use gravitational potential energy or spring potential energy with this form because it's going to cause you some issues. Okay? So that's how that works. If you found this video helpful, come check out our school community. It's got an amazing bunch of features. It's got extra videos, corrected videos, better than the ones that I have errors on YouTube. It's got multiple choice free response questions. I hold live Q&A sessions and go through more problems and I answer students' questions, help with schoolwork, all kinds of things. If you want to check it out, look in the description below or check out the website and find us in the school community. You get a 7-day free trial to give it a shot, just to check it out, see what it's like, come join some calls, and honestly, come learn AP Physics 1 even faster with us.